listeners. Welcome to Rambling Thoughts. I'm your host, Lost Boy, and today I don't have a particular topic. I have an entire list of topics, so I'm not exactly going to run out, but I feel like the beginning of this I should just do a little catch up on what I've been up to because I have a lot of stuff I've been doing and I really want to share with you guys. So for starters, I already made a post about it in the I some people call it the community tab, some people call it the post, I don't know. Where I have posts on my channel, I already shared how I'm going to an expo. I'll be attending and selling stuff at a trans expo in April. I'm very excited about it. I've been non-stop working on things and basically inventory for the expo, and it's all been very exciting. I'm happy with what I've been working on. But like I won't lie, I've missed just coming on to here and just talking. I think one of my biggest issues with trying to schedule times for myself to talk is the fact that I made a podcast not to have a schedule for it. It's called Rambling Thoughts. I legit just turn the mic on whenever I feel like it. So trying to schedule it just doesn't work out for me. I have to be in the mood to talk about something. Um Anyway, moving next thing, I finished the first draft of my book and I am very excited about that. I took it it, it pretty much took a year to get to this point. And currently I'm stepping away from it just a little bit so I can have some time to refresh my brain. With that done, I do have time to work on the other stuff that like I said, I am currently busy with. But that just means like some of the other things I'm kind of doing with it, not necessarily editing, but I did download it and then put the document into something called GoodNotes, where I am like highlighting which parts I will turn into pictures, what parts I will have a certain effect on the words, and just other things here and there. Um, Tumblr is practically dead, so I don't know why I've posted stuff on there. I don't really have a follower base on Tumblr. I've tried and like been trying to work on it a little bit, but I'll admit I haven't been super consistent with uploading pages of the story, and the beginning of it did change a little bit. So, but yeah, it's fine. That's the whole point of a first draft. It changes. Not everything's gonna stay to like the area the story's in. Anyway, so what else have I been up to? um, there's going to be an art crawl in my town. And I'm hoping I'll be able to do it. The the store I'll be selling stuff at, if like if the guy is able to get the art crawl trolley to stop by that store, place called Galaxy Arcade. Because I've been so busy working on stuff for the expo, I don't know how much I'll be able to um sell at the art crawl. But hey, maybe this is an idea. Maybe I can sell the stuff that I have now, and then like take the profits I make from that to buy more supplies to make it. Cause oh my jeez, the clay is so expensive. I try to save as much as I can. Mainly by using tinfoil to to build up the body and then covering it with clay so that I'm not using so much clay to build this dang thing. Um, but I have been enjoying it. My favorite parts that I can make in mass are these things called mushroom critters. They're these base. They basically yeah. They basically are just little animals on mushrooms. It's not that complicated, but I really like them. Um, but yeah, that's kind not yeah. Saying it all right now. Just like with how quickly I said it, it doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, it basically is. Because on top of that, I'm having to I'm still in school, obviously, so I have to juggle those things around. Bright side, my mom, as of recording this morning, my mom told me she ordered a cat backpack, basically a cat carrier for my cat Luna, and I'm very excited about that because I have been wanting to get one of those. And she got her a Legion harness, which I've been wanting to do as well. I think I mentioned this in the cat episode. My cat does want to go outside. She has snuck outside before, where she just sat on the porch. Um, but yeah, I know she wants to go outside. I would just rather have have a leash and harness while out there so that she doesn't, get mauled or get it or get into some kind of crap. I don't want to just let her outside. Anyway, crazy thing, I'm turning 18 this year. It feels weird. Like, okay, I know some people they look forward to turning 18. I'm I'm on the fence. On one hand, yeah, I'm happy about it because I can. Well, one of the things I am happy about is I'm hoping, like early on after I turn 18, I can scrounge up the money to change to legally change my name. I want to do that before I do any other legal crap, like making I have my book, but I don't want to make a book with the name I have right now. I don't want to publish it with that name, or do any other stuff where I have to put on my legal government name. I want to change my name first and foremost before I do anything else. Um, and also be able to start on HRT and things. I know a lot of people probably clicked off by this point, uh, and I get it. Not everyone wants to hear what I'm doing with life right now, and that's okay. Um, but I just figured I could share it with you guys because it's fun, and I'm really excited about things going on right now. If I said, I've been repeating this whole time, I am very excited and forever grateful to the people who have helped me get here. One of the people I have to thank is Nikki from Nurse Nikki's Novelties. I made art for her business, and she's a great ally of mine, and I guess you could say coworker. She's the one who told me about the Trans Expo and who will be taking me there. But also, she's just been a big help with a couple other things and opened so many doors for me. And like I said, I am forever grateful for that. Um, but okay, what else am I gonna be getting into? Hmm. I think that's everything. Maybe, perhaps. I like life is constantly moving, so I'm always doing something here and there. Um, my I yeah. Another thing I have been thinking about and hoping I can get to do. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it. Anyone who listens to this at least. I there's this convention in Nebraska. It's called NebraskaCon. It's an anime and art convention, and I want to go volunteer there. Um, Only issue being that it's in Nebraska, so I would need a plane ticket to get there, and I'm hoping after high school, after I graduate, I'll be able to somehow get some sort of job or I do want to get some sort of salary job, not something I absolutely despise because if I hate it I will not be able to do it, just something I am at least mildly happy with, so I can get some money to raise up enough money to try and get a try try to get a plane ticket, because for any volunteers slash employees of the convention, there is the hotel is free, and the just where you're staying is covered. And I'm pretty and in my case transportation will be as well. Um I have enjoyed writing this story so much. This story has been a passion project of mine. Thought of it in ninth grade, and it is now real. It's not a full book yet, but it's still exciting because it's in words. I have it in pages, and it's only a matter of time before I can turn that into a physical book about it. I'm not gonna give a lot of spoilers, obviously, but I can tell you some things about the. Ugh, I can tell you some things about the story and the world. It's really funny because before I even made the book, I already had my plethora of OCs and an entire like world and universe I built them off of. And then in ninth grade, when I thought of this story, I just thought I'll just use that world I created for this story. Like I can place them in that world, and it worked out. I have been developing it. I've been developing since then until I was able to write it. My friends and family, they tell me they're impressed. Like, and my sister, at one point, she didn't even think that I was still gonna finish writing it. Like, at one point, I was on chapter 30 something, and she asked, "Wait, you're still writing that?" I'm like, "Yeah, you thought I was kidding? I'm not. I'm dead serious about this." Um, my favorite parts are, like, more towards the middle and the end, you could say. I went a little more gory with the story than I was expecting. I didn't originally plan for certain things to happen, which that's kind of a given especially when it comes to a when you're working on a first draft. But I also I didn't think I I wrote myself into a quarter part basically. So I had to like eh, yeah, I had jeez. So I had to just work with it and commit. I didn't necessarily have to commit, but I thought, well, like what's the shame in it? I could give it a try. And yeah, I'm really happy with how that scene turned out. But at the same time, I think I made myself queasy by writing it. I will not say what it was, but here's what I can tell you. Briar, the character with red hair and dragon features, he he makes a deal with the Fae, which I feel like just saying that some people are behind their phones saying no, don't make a deal with the Fae, and it's funny because as a book writer, I made these characters, but I don't view them as characters I'm controlling. I don't see them as, like this you could say, puppets. I don't see them that way. I see them as their own people, which I don't think that's a bad way to view your characters in a book. I feel like that actually helps you with your story because you're thinking of them as a person and you're thinking of them as their own thing. So thinking through what they would do. Um, and it's just very in character for Briar to he was desperate, he was in a really tricky situation, so he made a deal with the Fae, and yeah, it turned into a very gory scene. She still helped him, but yeah, it came at a cost, which when you're dealing with the Fae, of freaking course it's going to do that. My point is, I did not plan for that. I did not plan for him to go that far. Uh, Honestly, I wasn't even sure if he was going to live to see the end of the book. I'll say that right now. I was on the fence on whether or not he would live. Actually, I was on a call once with some friends while I was writing, and one of my friends said, and I quote, "It's scary when even the author doesn't know what's going to happen." Well, and I can agree. I guess it can be kind of frustrating or even like scary to see what's gonna happen in the story when even the author doesn't know, when the person writing is just going with whatever comes to mind. Which kind of what I was doing with this book. There were several occasions where I was pretty much bullshitting my way through the story. Like like yeah, I would just think of something and I would be stuck and it's like, okay, how do I write through this situation? And then I just make up something on the spot. It's like, okay, here we go, let's go with this. And then it somehow works. I don't know how that happens. I just think of an idea and then it works apparently. And I don't understand it. um but my favorite one of my favorite parts of a story are just Lucane and Briar's interactions. I'll say this now. I don't think I've ever mentioned this before. I wish we would see more Arrow Ace characters in media. Like usually like half the time I don't think they're ever really portrayed. Like love is pretty much in every single thing every single form of media. It's in our movies, it's in books, it's in shows, it's in everything. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes I don't really want that in a story. Like, if I'm reading an epic story, I'm not really looking for the romance aspect. So then, if I read books where right in the middle, I like it's the climax of the story or something, or just something is happening, and then the characters start being mushy, and it's just like, okay, this is great for you too, but please, let's move along. Let's get back to the dragons. I'm sorry, I don't care that you two are making out right now. Just move on. There's a freaking thing over there that you have to take care of. This can wait. And that's how I feel half the time with stories. So I made sure that there's not really any leeway in the story. That's my favorite part, honestly. I read through it a little bit more, and from what I have found, the yeah, I read through it, and I'm really happy to see that I didn't really leave any, I guess you could say, stalling, or filler. I didn't want to have any filler in the book. I wanted every single scene, whether it's like just character building or it's plot, like developing the plot. I wanted to be doing something for the story. I didn't want anything in the story to feel pointless. And and I'm glad that I stuck with that mindset and I didn't trail off into just mindless shenanigans that didn't make any sense. Trust me, I have my own headcanons for my own characters, and the day that if I do ever see people making their own headcanons about the stories, I might just go on there and confirm a couple of them, like just for the fun of it, because I would love to see other people thinking of things of to just think of things my characters would do and try to come up with their own theories. That would be so cool. But anyway, a lot of the story does not have filler in it. It's all constantly moving forward, but none of it. Like, I do want to get someone else to read it. Like, I have sent it to a couple people, and I do want their feedback. But from what I can tell so far is that there's not really any spot that feels incomplete. Like, I did tie up every plot hole that in the story, and I am happy with uh, how I tied it off, like with how I ended it. The ending was one of my favorite parts, even though it was a little bit solemn when I was writing the ending, because when I was getting to that point where I was almost done, it just felt insane to me that this is a story I created years ago, and it's finally being completed, at least in the sense of it being all written out. Of course, some things might change here and there, but overall, the story was finished, and I could not believe it. I was so happy with myself because I actually did it, and I think other artists have this feeling too of where they can feel doubtful within themselves, and I won't act like I haven't. Just yesterday, while I was working on stuff for the art expo, for the trans expo, I I was kind of questioning myself, just like, what if no one actually buys my stuff? Like, is my stuff worth paying for? And I and I still have that feeling now a little bit. Just is my are my things worth paying for? But uh, I have some people, and thankfully I have some people who are helping me see that yes, it is worth it. And for other people, they might think there are other people that will think it's worth it. And yeah, just a thought I just had right now that cut in. That I just think is funny is what is someone gonna think that I'm rambling or that I'm not talking, like, that I'm not making sense? And then I remembered this is freaking called Rambling Thoughts. If you came here for a coherent conversation, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, this, it's in the title. But anyway, back to the book thing. Is I I'm just really happy with it. If at least one person likes my story and likes what I created, then I'll be happy with that. And I don't I'm not looking for my book to be the next Harry Potter, though my mom will say to me that she thinks my book will be that, and it's really sweet, and and like it makes me happy to think that a lot of people like my book to that height, if that makes any sense. But I am not really looking for that. Like, it'd be cool if that happened, but it's fine if that doesn't happen. It's fine if my book just resonates with only a few people. I'll probably make it like 10 copies at least and try to sell those. If more people want it, then I'll make more. No, if 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 pretty much only like 3 people buy it, those being like my friends and my partners, then I'm fine with that too. I just want to make a story, and I want to bring this story into the world. With all that's going on right now, at least in the US, I have a feeling that my book would be on a list of ones that would get banned, but honestly, I don't really care. And like let's just see. I Let's see what happens. I am just I'm just doing my best to survive out here, and I don't I don't know what's gonna happen. The future is never certain. Um, but like besides that, other parts of the book that I am happy about, I loved the fight scenes. I'll say this: I'm not that good at writing action, or at least I don't consider myself that good at writing action. But I tried my best, and I am happy with what I came up with. I wanted to create a okay, I'll say this. There's a character named Ivy, and I I wanted to make a character that you just the kind of character you don't like, but like they're obviously hateable for several reasons, but you can't help but love them. They have that undoubtable charm, kind of like Bill Cipher, a character that, yeah, he's a villain, but you you can't doubt that there's no doubt that he's charming, and he has his own just fun aspect to him. I don't think Ivy will ever reach that kind of acclaim, but that'd be cool. Um, my I did try my best to stick to what the main theme was, and I think I did a good job with that. If I've never mentioned that before, the main theme of the story is how complex morality is, because how I see it, morality isn't always on this black and white scale. It's like we see. Okay, I know you've seen at least a little bit of media that goes over good and bad. Like, there's so much of it that's about good and evil, or like just the two sides. But what about that muddy gray area? What about the confusing parts of morality that makes it so unclear? Not every decision is going to be on a clear part, on either side of morality. That's why I call my story two sides of the same coin. There can be yeah, yeah, something can be good for a bad reason. Something can be bad for a good reason. All that to say, as I said before, morality is complicated, and I wanted to make a story that showed that, because I think we have too much media that's about good and evil. I don't think it's bad. It's a cliche, but it's a good one. It's one that's fun to discuss and talk about, and just watch or read or yeah, you get my point. But anywho, I wanted to make a book that discussed the muddy center, of all of that. Yeah. What am I saying? I wanted to make a story that discussed the complicated parts of morality, and that it's not so black and white. I don't try to sway you in the story. And even now, I'm not going to expect anyone to like my characters, in the sense of thinking someone's good and thinking someone's bad. The story doesn't try to make you think someone's good or someone's bad. I'm just telling, the book yeah. I'm just telling a story, and you get to decide on how you feel about those characters, and whether or not they're good or they're bad. Because you could defend their actions in so many ways. Not everything is clear. It's just up to the reader to decide on who they think is who they think is right in the story. I've had some friends read some pages, and what one of my favorite parts that I one of my favorite comments I got from my best friend. He said that even he was starting to hate humans from the freaking from one of the freaking parts that I wrote. And you can, like, from Lucane's actions, you can, like, I don't make it clear on whether or not certain actions were made by him or whether or not they were made by someone else. I want it to be a little bit confusing. I want it to be that you have to debate with yourself on what is happening in the story. And the my favorite parts are just him grappling with his own morality, just questioning what is good and what is not, or if like what he's doing is right. I'm really tiptoeing around what I say because I don't want to give away too much. It's a 50-page book, so it's not like I'm going to give away the entire story in a couple of sentences. But I want to save so much. And like following that, now that I am done writing it and I have much more free time, and especially after I graduate, I will have more free time. I'll finally get to finish that animation that I wanted to make for the story. It's it's still in production. I still have the file for it in Flip-A-Clip. Yes, I use Flip-A-Clip to animate. um it's like what I'm comfortable with, and currently, like, this is all I do on I record videos, podcast, and animate, and draw, and write on this one dinky ass tablet that I got. I'm happy with this tablet, but I can admit it's just a tablet I got over a year ago. Like, actually, no, 2 years ago. It's a Galaxy or something. That's what I'm recording on right now, and I have a mic that I got from a camera that my sister gave me. Um, so there's only so much I can work with, but I'm happy with with what I've been able to do. Um, anywho, backtracking a bit to the book part, uh, I have loved the characters, like how I've been able to develop them. As I said before, I don't see my characters as characters, if that makes any sense. In other words, I don't see them as my creations. No, okay, that's not it. I don't really see them as a part of me. I see them as their own people, even though they're technically something just in my own head. It's in my imagination of what I've created. Um, but um, but I'm happy with how ugh, I am. Ugh, I like how I wrote them as characters. I see them as their own people. Briar is definitely okay. I'll say this: with all of my characters, every single one, they all embody some of my own personality. Like, I have a little bit of them is a little bit of me, if that makes any sense. So Briar, if I had to place him anywhere, he kind of embodies somewhat of my own optimism and like determination and things like that. He's much more on the optimistic side, like of that coin. And then then Lucane, I wouldn't really call him a pessimist. He's more realistic, if that makes any sense. He tries to be optimistic about things. Like, and it's not like he shuts down everything immediately. That's one of my favorite parts about his characters is I don't really see him as the kind to just just to think negatively of every single thing. He does have, like, he is positive in some sense. It's just he's more realistic, if that makes sense. If he thinks of things in realistic ways, so it's not really like he just sees everything in a bad light. Briar loves like baking and cooking. That's something I just really like to do. Uh, on the topic of just them two, I'm just gonna talk about the relationship dynamic a little bit more. I really they're basically that typical, like, black and white relationship in the sense of like the positive one and the one's a little more gloomy. but I wouldn't really call Liu Kang gloomy. He just looks that way. Like he just has a resting, like, for lack of better words, he has a resting bitch face. He just looks annoyed half the time, but he's not. And also, he dresses in a more Victorian goth style half the time. Uh, I actually have it, so Briar, I wrote it in the story that Briar once, calls one of the outfits that, like, Luke Kane asks for his opinion on an outfit, and Briar calls him a gay pirate. Like, he looks like a gay pirate. I just think it's funny. Um, but yeah, their relationship, they bounce off each other, and I really like that. Once again, I talk about them as if they're their own people. So, like, if that weirds you out, I don't know what to tell you. Um, that I like their dynamic with how they think. They tend to be in sync a lot of the time. That's how they know what the other one's going to do for certain things. There is obviously some sense of unpredictability, but for the most part, they are very in tune with each other, and they, like, understand what if one thing's gonna happen, then something else is gonna happen as well. And then writing, okay, this is one of the things I can't spoil. This is just another character. This one character is not very vocal, but she is, like, and she's not in the story for too long. She shows up more towards the end, but I absolutely adore her. She has her own small personality, but it's really fun. You get to know some of her personality, like, from meeting her, especially from her interactions with Briar. Um, and yeah, it's I get cut off because I want to give more details, but I can't. I want to talk more about the story, but I can only give so much without spoiling certain parts because I want those to remain like I want them to remain at least secret until the book is out. Um, the my favorite parts of the story, like, which this is not a spoiler, this is just something that's in the story, is um the Briar and Lucane's connection with stars. And, like, just so, like, no just so I can just clarify this now, maybe someone else will come back to this. There's no I wouldn't really say there's a super deep symbolic meaning with the stars. The stars do play a part in the story, in, like, thematically at least. But yeah, that's really it. They That's their connection with each other, is that they absolutely love astronomy. They love stargazing, and every year they love watching the yearly fairy migration called the Fairy March, and the basically the same time every year you'll see practically 1,000 fairy sprites just fluttering through the sky. And it's a celebration in the Anomalic community. Um, I need to make it just a whole episode specifically about the book. I practically have right now, so honestly, I could just go deeper. Yeah, no, you know what? I'm gonna commit. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna just talk about the entirety of it, which I already have given some information about the story, but I think I can give a little bit more without spoiling too much. Um, but yeah, the okay. Here's something that's not really a secret hidden, is that Liu Kane does not have a familiar. Familiars are very important to witches. In my book world, because witches, when they're born, they have a they have a link between their psyche, their consciousness, and their spiritual core. That is where their magic comes from. Problem is, because those two things are connected, they can have their emotions affect their magic, and that's not really good, if that makes any sense. Like, it becomes an issue if if they don't learn how to control that, then it can become a problem. I don't think I need to explain why. So to combat this, a witch will get a familiar which severs that link. Which, don't get me wrong, emotions are important, and are important for spells and other things like that, like, especially with intention. But there's a point where it's too much, and that's what causes things like flare ups. Luke Kane gets that in the story. He doesn't get his unfamiliar when he's a child. So, yeah, growing up, he never got his familiar. So he had to learn how to control his magic and not flare up all the time. Issue being that it's not necessarily always under his control. Sometimes he'll have flare ups, which I didn't do this on purpose. It only got to a point where I figured out, oh crap, I basically am projecting my own chronic pain onto this character. So yeah, that's coded into his character with his magic. That was not on purpose, but when I realized that that was happening, I was like, okay, I'm going with it now. I'm not changing that. He's coded with chronic pain. Um, and I just think that's like, I just kind of feel bad. There's this trend that was going on, this animation trend that was going on in Instagram, and I wanted to try it, but I didn't get to. I think I might try it because like after I have free time. There's this song I think called Army Dreamers, and the animation it'll have the creator or artist whatever on one side of this spinning teacup just sitting there, and then on the other side is their quote unquote creation or character. And I want to do that with Lucane and Briar. I think it'd just be funny. But anyway, oh, one of my favorite parts was writing about the Great Wood. I might change the name, but like, it's alluded to in the book. Like, I'd say in the like, I don't even know. Like, okay, I'm gonna say this is chapter 27, maybe. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure which chapter it is. I think it's chapter 30 something. It's a little bit further along because a lot of the book, like, okay, one of my things that I really liked with writing it, with writing a book. This has to do with the beginning of the book and the cover. You have to hook your audience. You have to make sure, give them a reason to stay, give them a reason to want to read that story. How I did this with at the beginning, basically the prologue. I think it's the prologue. I think that's what you call this section. Is It's one of those stories where it starts right in the middle of the story and then it cuts off and it's going to just be a whole build up to that onto that section. And I really like that. My one of my crap. My brain needs to work. Uh, my, I really like stories that do that because it catches your attention. You have no choice but to read the story if you want to find out what happens, and you don't know when that's gonna happen. So that's kind of the point. I kind of did it on purpose because like I'll be honest. I came up with this story in ninth grade, and it was for an English assignment. Everyone else, obviously, they were just gonna write things down. Me being extra, I had to make a mini comic of it on paper. I barely got it done the night before because I had to spend so much time thinking about it and put effort into it. I still have a picture of it. I don't have the actual page anymore. Tried asking my English teacher for it. She didn't have it. But oh well. At least I still have a picture of it. Um, but yeah, I really like that part where it's okay. It feels weird because I picture that scene that I wrote on a comic, but it's so different now. Like having the information of what happens after that scene or what's happening in that scene. It's just yeah. I'm just waiting. It's just whenever I whenever someone eventually reads my book, it's just gonna be a waiting game for someone to figure out what's going on. But that's the fun part of the story is it's a build up. Anyway, where I was going with that was that the after that section, the rest of it is pretty much build up of the story. Like you go through Lucane and Briar's childhood. I'll admit I didn't go through enough of Briar's experience as much as I wanted to, so maybe after a bit of the editing process, I'll work a bit more on Briar's part because I don't want to leave him out. Like that'd just be sad. Like he needs to get his own sections. which he does. He gets his own sections way later in the story, though. So I can't say that like there's no main character because clearly at some point that yeah, Luke Kane is kind of the main character of the story in like in that sense he's the protagonist at least in like if I had to put an actual like official label on it. But as I said before, you're the one who gets to like you the reader gets to decide on like what you think the characters are in the story. Um, but anyway, the I don't give enough Briar enough build up time. I do, in some sense. Like he does get built up. I don't spend enough time. Like I don't spend enough time with him in the story. So I need to go back and change that just a little bit. Like just give him a little more time, so you can get to know him a bit more. Um, but I do like with how it currently is. I do like it. Uh, and I felt like at one point that it was dragging on, but then I thought no, it's not because that's just the build up of the story. If someone doesn't want to read that whole part, that is perfectly fine. Just yeah, it's not the book for this is not the book for you if you don't like stories that have that build up to stuff. Um, but as I said before, I don't like filler. I don't want to have any filler in the book. I don't want anything to feel pointless. So every single scene that's happening, it is either moving the plot forward or it is building character relationships or just it's doing something. No scene in my book is pointless. There is not a single part that doesn't need to be there. Um and I like that. I am happy that I stuck with that. When it comes to how I'm going to get this published, I'm going to go with self-publishing, or even I've heard of this. I have been informed of this other publishing place that I might go to, maybe, but I'm not sure because my problem with publishers is like when it comes to publishers, they want something that's secure. Like most of the time, they if something's outside of the mainstream, chances are they're not going to say yes. Like they're going to either want to change something or they don't want to go with something that's new and there's not exactly a what's the word I'm looking for? There's not exactly a guarantee that something's going to succeed in the industry. And I guess I can understand that. Uh, but I don't really want to deal with that. I don't really want to deal with someone telling me I have to take something out of my book because no, it's my book. I'm not changing it. Everything is staying in that story exactly how it is. Um, my my boyfriend's grandma, she writes books and she's giving me some advice on like how like she did it, but some things that she wishes she didn't do, some things that would definitely help me out a bit. Jeez. Something in my throat. But yeah, I've been I've loved writing up the story. So there are these parts that I did have troubles with, but it was more so the foreshadowing. Like I had to, I, w- it's a little bit tricky trying to foreshadow some things because I wasn't sure how I wanted to implement them. But once I figured it out and made sense, and that's one of my favorite parts of. Like I don't say favorite a lot, um, but yeah, I like a lot of things in the book. So what? Just my book overall is one of my favorite things. So like that's the only way I can put it. Anyway, the uh, where was I going with? Oh, that I something I love is the is building up for foreshadowing. Whenever you just build up for foreshadowing is always fun because I can have all these parts like there are these things sprinkled in there that you don't really think about but then later on after you read the whole story those parts start to make sense like oh that's what that meant um and going back a bit to Briar almost didn't live to see the end I had a little back and forth on how I wanted the ending of the story to go. At one point, one of my friends suggested this idea, and I kind of had this idea too, where because this is kind of a story about morality, where it's their big battle, like Lucane and Briar's big confrontation, I thought about having it so the next page you turn to it says, "Now you choose," and it'll say, like, turn to this page if you make this choice, or turn to this page if you make this choice, and you will get a different ending depending on what, depending on which way you go. And I thought that was a good idea, but then, one, like, that's a lot of work, and two, I wanted to have a definitive ending. I didn't want it to have any alternate universes or questioning whether or not which one was real. I wanted to have a single solid ending. And I'm glad I went with that direction because it was way easier and also way more satisfying. No spoilers for this part, but like what I will say near the end of the story, like when everything has happened, which I'll say I like happy endings to stories. The next book I write might have a little more of a bittersweet ending, because I do like those too. But who knows if I'll get to write that one? Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Who knows? But yeah, the ending of the story I really like it because it's everything has come together fully. Like it's all tied off in a neat little bow, and it all makes sense. I did go back and forth a little bit with how I wanted the ending because with the ending chapter of the book, you want to leave a message with the reader that will resonate within them, at least in some way. It doesn't have to be super deep or meaningful, just something that feels like it's an actual close off and it doesn't feel unfinished. And really like it. One of the things that I took a lot of inspiration from, I took real life things from like paganism. Uh, if for the story, I at one point was like I consider myself pagan, not anymore. But I did take some things from that as inspiration for other elements of the story. Not in any disrespectful way, of course. Like I said, just for inspiration. And I like how it just neatly fits in. One of the things I do that's interesting about how I made the world be is like witches don't exactly like magicians, specifically like human magicians, because it's like that how they see it is like that's not magic. It's just tricks. It's just illusions. And so magicians aren't really like respected amongst animalics, at least amongst like magic users, because it's like they call that magic, but it's not really magic, and so they don't really like it all that much. Um, Other parts of the story I can talk about. Hmm. Oh, I like I said before, I do have my own headcanons about the story, and it's a lot of them are just like little scenes. Okay, I wouldn't really call them headcanons. I'm the creator, so they're basically just canons. um, just individual scenes I didn't put in the story. Um, for example, it's more softly mentioned in the book, but there's a time where Lucane and Briar, as children, they loved building random crap and using it. One of the things that Lucane built once was a raft to ride down the river, but it wasn't as secure as he thought it was, so it broke, and uh, they had to explain to Briar's mother why they were coming home just dripping wet. And it's just a funny image in my head. Another thing that I thought about adding at the end of the book, but I decided not to because I was like, that's just too mean. I don't want to rip people's hearts out like that. uh, I say that, but then I did a lot of things in this book that are definitely we would consider worse. There's a scene I had thought of adding where, like, with the happy ending, having it show just Lucane and Briar through the years, like spending them together, and then like Lucane talking, like he sounds like he's talking to Briar, about all the like all the progress that they've made with human society in the sense of like building connections with them, building peace treaties, like and yeah, just the progress that's been made between the peace of animalics and humans. Um, but then I have it pan over, and you can see Lucane is talking to a grave, because it is canon that like with that witches, they have much longer lifespans. They're not immortal, but they live for a very long time. Fairlands, they do not have as long as a lifespan, so inevitably that will happen. That there will come a day whenever Lucane and Briar have like they will no, ugh, Briar will die before Lucane does. And I decided, okay, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna put that in the story. That's just mean. But I will probably just have it as like a special add-on, like a little separate side element, maybe. Who knows? Maybe I'll just like post a small comic of it. But it's just something in my head that 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 I like. And I do acknowledge that a little bit in the story, like to compensate for not having that scene. I have it so it is mentioned by the end. You can see that Briar is aging, but Lucane has remained the same even after a decade of like the events of the book. Um, but yeah, there's so many details I'd love to share, but so many that I can't. um, yeah, that's all I can I'm share for now. There's about just the story itself. That I've built so much of this world, it's not even funny. I could probably make more stories just taking place in that universe, because that story is more like in the history of that world. Uh, it's funny I say that because it's not exactly history that they, like not a lot of people know about in the like in that world. That is an event that happened that no one will know about. Like Briar and Lucane will take that to their graves that happened. And it's interesting to think about. But I could make other stories with other characters. For example, there are other species I made. There's Denox, there's vampires, there's Feralins, there's Dragonoids, there's Venisons. I loved exploring a bit here and there of the other species, races. I don't know how else to put it. Um, they like I don't like okay, I don't go as deep into them as it would have been nice to. Mainly just because that's not the point of the story. Gotta keep moving. But I did like do a little bit of focus on just to build up enough of of those characters. You meet a lot of side characters in that story, like a lot of them, and none of them feel I hope none of them will feel like they are there for too long, or they're not there long enough. They all serve their purpose in the story. Um, but who knows? Maybe I'll make separate stories having to do specifically with those guys. I do have another I do have another story in mind. I have multiple, at the very least, I have two cohesive stories. The others are more so little brainstorms, but two of them are like definitive ideas for stories that I could definitely turn to a full book if I ever wanted to one day. But who knows? Like I said before, the future is never certain. So, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Eh, Uh, I've been I, I've been going on for a while, and I have other things I need to get to. Mainly having to do, like I said, the expo stuff that I need to get to. But I did want to record this. I'm gonna record another one tomorrow, so lucky you guys, you're getting 3 episodes. You're getting 3 podcast episodes this month. Because like I said, I made this announcement in January. I wanted to have release an episode at least once every month. But yeah, I've been busy the last couple of months. Life's catching up to me, but all in good ways. Um, and I'm excited to see how I go forward with this channel. I have so many things that I want to do, not enough time to do them. But although rest assured, they will happen. I will get to them. Until then, thank you all for listening. Uh, stay safe on your journey, and I hope it's a good one.